Hi everyone, welcome to this webcast on teaching multi-level classes. My name is Lois McDonald and I'm pleased to present this as an example of what I think is a pretty typical class with my own group of multi-level learners. This lesson plan is created of a group of activities that I intend to last approximately 3 hours. Of course, timing is always dependent on the teacher, the learners, and even just the flow of your class on any particular day. So please treat the times that I am suggesting as guidelines. I do have a fairly large class at this point, 22 students. They range in levels, CLB levels, from CLB 2 to CLB 6. They come from 14 different countries, and their ages range from 21 to 66. In these next 3 slides, you will see that I am including my objectives for this particular class. The first slide is on listening, the next one is on speaking, and the last one is on writing. Of course, there is some reading going on in the class, but it's not my particular focus for this class. You'll also remember that I mentioned my students in this class are CLB 2 to CLB 6. However, there are students in the class that are working at CLB 7 and 8 in terms of their listening and speaking. So I do want to make sure that I include some objectives for them to still show growth and be able to work on those skills as well. So as I mentioned, this first page here is on listening. You'll see that I'm including objectives for CLB 1, 2 all the way up to CLB 7 and 8. Once again, my objectives for speaking. You will notice that I am using sharing information and getting things done. And lastly, my objectives for writing, CLB 1, 2 up to CLB 5, 6. These are the levels that my group of students are working at. Every class begins with a warm-up. I find that this is always very useful for the students. In this particular class, we are going to be talking about news in Canada. We do current events every week in my class, so my students are always prepared for this question. This is very useful in particular for beginning students so that I am not catching them off guard. They know that at any given class they will be asked this question. So very often the beginning students come with something written down, or they have memorized a phrase or some words. And very often my advanced students will take that information and extend it quite a bit. So we do allow for some discussion. I will be writing words on the whiteboard for any new vocabulary. Now, since we are already talking about Canada, I let them know that we are going to be learning about the 10 provinces and 3 territories of Canada. I have prepared a short paragraph that I will be reading, and this paragraph is comprised of quite basic sentences and basic vocabulary. It is likely that the beginner students will not understand everything right at the beginning, but as we go over things a few times, this will become more and more clear to them. I do supply very strong visual cues. I will have a map so that the beginning students and the advanced students are able to come up and take part in pointing things out as we go through. This shows you the paragraph that I would be using. At this point, my beginner students, CLB 1 to 4, are given a map of Canada that has the names of all the provinces already on it. And then they are also given a blank map and asked to transfer information. Depending on the students, and you will know your own students best, you can ask for a little bit more information. Some of them come with a great deal of prior knowledge, and they will be happy to showcase what they know. The more advanced students are given simply a blank map and they're asked to fill in the information that they know. And again, I am asking for prior knowledge to be included here. They are definitely allowed to go up to the map and get more information from it. I will very likely ask them if they can fill in some capital cities. Some of the beginner students will also be interested in this and very likely will take part once they see the advanced students doing it. They may also decide that they wish to fill in things like the Great Lakes or the major lakes in Alberta, and I would encourage that as well. After the map work is done, we move on to doing a dictation. All the maps are covered except for those of the beginner students. The map at the front is covered. I ask the advanced students to close up whatever they have been doing. I'm going to be reading the paragraph that we were first using at the beginning of the class. The advanced students are given a lined piece of paper and they will have to write out what I'm reading word for word and include punctuation. For the beginner students, I will be giving them a page with many of the sentences already partially done. So for them, it is more of a gap fill exercise or a fill in the blank exercise. After the group dictation, the students will take turns writing the sentences on the whiteboard. I will call on them, I will choose. This is a really good opportunity for the beginner students to feel successful because, as I mentioned, the worksheets or the pages that they have been given have had many of the words supplied to them. And I will notice quite often that my advanced students are taking a peek at what the beginning students are writing down so that they can check spelling. Now, this group of activities has taken about an hour and a half, so at this point we would take a break. I'm now going to be working with my students on community maps. In our case, it's the town of Stony Plain. I have given all of the students their own particular map. On the map, I've placed some of the main landmarks, and on a separate piece of paper, I have listed the landmarks. For the beginner students, I'm going to be using this as primarily a matching exercise. It's important that they are able to take a look at the map and look at the directionality of where they are and where things are in the rest of the community. Not every student that I have is from Stony Plain, but this will help them to be able to learn maps for their own area and become more familiar with landmarks. For the advanced students, they will be asked to match the landmarks as well, but I'm going to ask them to extend that activity. They will be asked to use full sentences to write something about the landmarks and a connection that they might have. This last part of the class, which will take 45 minutes to an hour, we sometimes call running dictation, or I sometimes call sentence relay. This is an opportunity for me to review all the different vocabulary or sentence structures that we have been using throughout the class. As the class has been going along, I have prepared 10 sentences, and I've been using the vocabulary that we have been learning today. It is sort of a running tally of words and phrases, and very often I'm just finishing these 10 sentences up as we are going into this activity so that I make sure I include the language that has been important to the students on this particular day. I put the students into groups of 3 or 4, and so they are going to form a team in order to be able to write down all these sentences. In my case, I go across the hallway with the sentences, and the students are going to pick one person from their group to come across and hear me read out the sentence. They all must take a turn in doing this, and I do not let them see the sentences. So they are hearing me read the sentence, then they are going back to their group and repeating the sentence in their best pronunciation. One or more of the students in their group will be writing down what they hear from that student. Now, because I do have a multi-level class, I make sure that some of the sentences I am preparing are a bit more basic, using more basic vocabulary or perhaps more basic sentence structure. So for example, before I leave the room, I might say, sentences 1, 3, and 5 are going to be our basic sentences for today. For my students, this is their cue that the beginning students in their group are the ones who should be coming out to listen to me say these sentences. If by chance they forget this and a more advanced student comes out to receive that sentence, I will just joke with them and say, "What are you doing here?" And they will know they have to go back out and get one of the beginning students. There is always a lot of fun with this activity, lots of laughter. They do treat it as a competitive race. It's a fun activity for them. After the groups have all finished the 10 sentences, I go back into the room and then I choose students who are going to come up and write the sentences on the board. As I mentioned, it's important that I see that they have made a good effort with their spelling. It's important that they are able to have fun with the activity, but it's also important that they get it right in terms of spelling and in terms of punctuation. And this is a challenge because they have not seen the sentences, they have just been listening to me read them. As they go up to the board, I make corrections only if the other students don't find the errors. In this way, I find that they are the most supportive to each other, they have fun, the peer teaching element is very special in my group and I really love to see it. I will only make corrections if they are unable to find them themselves. I hope you have enjoyed this webcast. I want to thank Justine Light for inviting me to take part. As I hope you've seen, I really enjoy working with my multi-level class. Thank you for watching.